panel discussion on digital tech, how it is driving our industry. So we've identified 7 digital tech trends which is shaping the industry today. One is e-commerce and online selling. This has really changed the way we are buying things and changed the industry. It has opened the industry for a lot of people. Then AI, AR and 3D, which is artificial intelligence. Just look at that selfie, Oppo ka selfie there. There's a phone with an Oppo selfie ad. And there again, they are using the beauty, to sell the product. An augmented reality, I think our first speaker spoke about this, which is Modiface, L'Oreal's Modiface. And now 3D printing, again, which has changed. You have this mask that will actually print out the mask for you with the ingredients and you put it on. So that's the change, that's the 3D printing. So this is another trend. Apps, so you have try-on apps. Again, we listened to this in the morning. L'Oreal's Makeup Genius, and there is a virtual hair studio. The salons are using this hair studio. These are the apps. We have the Uberization of services. So you have the home services. So you have the urban clap at home, and you have customized solutions like that lip lab. So you come and you ask and they make that customized for you, the lipsticks. Smart tools. You have this Olay Moments, very interesting actually, that Olay Moments. It searches your skin, decides how much of what you need, how much of cleanser you need and how much you need. So that's the Olay Moments. A smart mirror, again, you look into the mirror and it tells you all that is wrong and right about your face and what cosmetics you should be using. And Optune, which is again a Shiseido, similar to the Olay Moments product. We have salon management systems. They are changing the way salons are operating and increasing business. You have cloud-based software and you have online training too, which is being offered on this. And the biggest change that has come into our industry is social media. So it has changed the way people explore, find things. So we will just be talking about 2 aspects of this because the others are too huge. For that, I will let me invite Shamli Bhagat. Each of us will introduce ourselves once they are over here. We have Kaushik Shitole. Harsh. And Kadamini. So just take a minute and introduce yourself. We'll start with Shamli.
Hello, good evening. My name is Shamli Bhagat. I'm co-founder of a beauty blog called Imperfect Beauty. And next to me is my founding partner, Kadambri Lakhani. Together we own this blog called Imperfect Beauty, which caters to the beauty market. And we cover every topic under beauty, like wellness, hair, skin, etc. So, and Avni Amlani is our another founder with us. And as you all know, she's been around a lot. She is the skin specialist who is a founder with us on the blog.
Hi, as Shamli said, We're co-founders of a beauty blog called Imperfect Beauty. I've also been the beauty editor at Elle Magazine for 5 years. And basically, I've been in the beauty and fashion business for about 15 years now. Fashion and beauty go hand in hand. A lot of the trends are similar in terms of color cosmetics and things like that.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity, ma'am. I'm Harsh. I head the business for WOW Skin Science and Life Science. I look at the complete strategy implementation from product development to throughput of it. And thank you.
I think this works. Okay. My name is Kaushik. Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
My name is Kaushik. I'm actually into this point of sale and CRM software for salons. When I talk about salons, it's not only salons, it covers salons, spas, and also healthcare market. Came into this industry by accident. It's been almost 10 years, more than 10 years now. I own a company by name Map Technologies. We have a complete salon management system by name Abidzu Point of Sale CRM, which takes care of all the challenges which a salon faces today, not only with respect to operations, but also with respect to the CRM related activities. Yep.
Okay, so we'll start with Harsh.
Yeah.
Harsh, recently I read an article saying that the web sales, online sales in the US, in the beauty category, has outpaced the regular, online sales of regular products. What is the situation in India?
Okay. Am I audible? Yeah. So it in fact has, US e-commerce market has been expanding at around 18-20% now, whereas the beauty category expanded by close to 28%. India today is a 12 billion market versus a 300 billion market in the US for the beauty industry. So we are still way behind, and we have a lot of catch up to do in terms of market trend and consumer data shifts. However, historically, it's been shown that when India does catch up, it's way faster than the West. I'm sorry about this. When we went to raise money in 2015, a lot of investors told us that you're crazy. You know, who would buy beauty products online without touch, feel, and smell? But today, the young India wants to feel good, wants to look good, and be healthy at a young age. Almost 5 years from then, we've built a huge consumer database and have a big loyal following with us. Consumers are being very specific in terms of what ingredients are going into the products, what they're looking at, does it fit into their daily consumption needs? And that's how it's trending today. The second point is, almost 12 years back, we did not have so much social media channels available with us. And it was more the elders in the family who used to take the decision, hey, you know what, this is good for you and this is not this bad for you. Currently, even so much content is available on social media and information on what is good and bad. And the larger audience being between the age group of 18 to 28, we are seeing that today they are influencing their parents, their neighbors, their relatives on what is good for them. And this is where we see a huge data shift, and it's just going to increase with coming time.
So sticking to social media, which is impacting our business so much, Kadambini, we are seeing these new platforms coming up every day. One day there was Orkut and the next day it was not there. The Facebook just came in, and now it's suddenly just Instagram. So brands, brand owners are finding it difficult to locate which is the social media platform that they should be in. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think first you have to look at who's your consumer. What is the age group of your consumer? And the other thing is you can't be all over the place. You have to first have a social media strategy and build on that strategy with maybe on a couple of platforms. And the thing is that, for maybe, let's say if you were looking at a older consumer, something like Twitter may work because they don't need to always be visually stimulated. If, if you recommend something on Twitter and give a logic and a reason to it, your older consumer would probably react well to that. Whereas I think your younger consumer would probably need a visual platform like Facebook or Instagram.
So there's also, Shamli, this, we are seeing that there's a lot of impact these influencers are using, like how she said. So it's the age group, and, certain influencers are influencing a certain type of, or a certain segment of people. How will a brand be able to choose which is the influencer they should be using?
See, I can just put it in 3 words: knowledge, experience, and exposure. First and foremost, a brand has to look for these 3 things in a influencer, because this is what will add up to the influencer's creditability. Because nowadays, again, as you said, there are so many platforms available, and influencer word has just emerged from maybe just the number of followers a person has, or but nobody really gets into the depth of who the influencer is. Like, if today we have come up with a blog, it's just not happened like overnight. Okay, today, tomorrow I want to be seen all over the social media, so let me just come up with a blog. I'm a blogger because I'm just taking pictures and I'm posting it. No, we actually had put in a year of research and effort, and it's coming from all our years of experiences. Each one of us, if you're blogging, has a working experience also. Like Kadambari has had a 5 years experience with Elle as a beauty editor. She had come across so many beauty brands whom she has consulted and worked with. Avani has been around in the field of skin expertise for so many years. So if she is saying something, it's just not because she likes the look of the product. She knows what the product can do for you and how it feels for you. I have been a makeup artist. I am still a hands-on makeup artist and a hair expert. I own a salon. So if I am talking about a makeup product or a hair product, it's because I've dealt with it. I know what it feels like. So that is very important, I think, for a brand to, because as much as they want it to look good, they also need the people to actually get the right feel and right experience out of it. So, the influencers also have to be a consultant at some point of time for the brand.
So, Kadamini, see, many of us have this issue that when, we launch brands, we get some bad feedback, some negative feedback, and it's scary. Because it's not like we could just put it down and, a client kuch bol raha hai, let's move. It's not like that. It's for everyone to see. Managing reputations in this business is very, very tough. What do you suggest? What should brands be doing to manage this?
Well, I think brands need to be hands-on in monitoring what the feedback is, and they definitely need to respond to consumer feedback, and that is on the surface. But I think if you're going to manage a problem, you have to kind of go back as well and see if there's any justification to that negative feedback, and you have to manage it diplomatically. You cannot ignore a comment like that. So basically, brands really have to make an effort not only to have a strategy, but to kind of react to what may come up.
Harsh, you see, yours is a fairly new brand. It's a startup brand. And today the big brands are all they're having all these startups nibbling at them because of this, the digital. And really they don't know what to do, except now what they're doing is they're going and buying those brands. So, that's what we are seeing. So, even now they are you know, it is very, for the big brands, they are, though they have a 90% market share, online they have only 14% market share.
Okay, so
Why is this? Like, what's your...
Established brands, they'll continue to be powerful, right? They are big giants and they'll continue to be powerful. When it comes to startups, they're more agile in terms of implementation on what they want, right? We heard so many speakers speak today about different formulations, different ingredients. And today these startups are very quick to adapt to this and launch new products faster compared to the big giants. Also, they land up giving far better, superior service, listening to what the customer is saying, regular feedback monitoring, talking to them what is wrong, what is not wrong, changing product development and formulations, and really addressing these concerns. Even though big brands are almost on par with their budgets and skill set when it comes to spending offline versus online, this could really well come under pressure in the next 10 years at least now. And the 14% number is just going to grow more.
Oh.
And that's the shift which we are seeing right now. That's the trend which we are
So
seeing.
you mean to say that they will grow equally fast on that? Or?
And also what I'm trying to say is, these bigger brands have set up a huge loyal customer database, right? And systems which have been there for last 50 years, 60 years, right? They looked in the future and set up these systems. And today they're being restricted by that same system. They're not being able to be agile. For us, it's very easy to launch products as startups because of e-commerce, and it's a seamless experience, right? It's more plug and play to start a product in and to get it out there.
Yeah, you can't even get out once you're a big brand with a product. Even to say no and stop it, it's a big problem, of course. Kaushik, talking about systems, now you are in the salon business. Systems was always a big problem in the salon business. There was nothing like a system. So your software, your kind of software has enhanced the ease of use for enhanced, doing business for salons. How have the salons reacted? Are they taking it? Because I have done a lot of work with salons. The very fact that, oh, there's a computer and wo feed karna padta and all is scary for them. So how have they adapted in this digital age?
See, I had these challenges 10 years ago. If I go to any of the salons, if I go and talk to any of the salons, main question was software in a salon. That was surprising. Nobody wanted, we have been into this business from quite a long time. It's been ages we have been into this business. Why would we need a software? That was the challenge now. Now let us also look at the brands who are there in the market now. We talk about numbers. There are 400 salons are there. With one brand there are 400 salons. With another brand there are 600 salons. Hundreds is just a number now. Okay. Now let me talk to an individual who is running a standalone outlet. If I ask him about the challenges, if I ask her about the challenges, her challenges starts from the employees, the service which I am giving to the client, the feedbacks which I am collecting, whether I am able to sell the product to the same customer. We talk about personalization, whether I am able to give a personalized package for the client. Too many things to handle. Attendance, your petty cash. If you go into a salon, there are around 10 or 15 books kept to maintain each and every register, right from attendance. Now, let us look at another scenario where these brands are running with around 100 outlets, 200 outlets. If you get in, you will not even see a single register there. Everything is automated. When I put in processes, when I put in systems to run these processes, I am able to scale. That's where I can concentrate more on marketing and increasing my business. There are, in last 10 years, what I have seen the changes is why you need a software to? Today customers are asking, how can your software increase my business? There are salons, when they are creating a package, they also propose a product along with this package. You get 4 services along with a product. What my product companies are doing is how are you selling these products to these salons? Salons. How are you able to make a package? You don't get this package without buying this particular product. This is what we are heading towards. every feedback whatever I am getting from the salon, how am I taking it to my Google reviews or Facebook reviews? This is what customers are asking now. Booking appointment, billing, this is like everybody does it. Now salons have started talking about like how will you help in increasing my business. This is the shift which I have seen over past 10 years.
So you mean to say salons are again looking at how your software, how softwares like yours can help them even with getting into the using social media or using any such
Exactly.
vehicle to promote their salons.
Exactly. Now what's happening is like maximum business. The moment if at all I have to go and take a service in a salon, first you go look into their website and look into their Google reviews. How can I push, how can I add on to this Google reviews? This is what we are concentrating more on now.
Okay, so it all comes back to
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. And Kadambini, see, there is this great Instagram love. Our salons are so crazy, and people I find in the beauty, especially in our segment. What is this? Why is this particular platform so popular?
Which one? Instagram? Are you talking about
Instagram.
Well, basically, beauty is a very visual business. And I think Instagram gives them that ability to project visuals really well. Plus, you have a lot of lovely filters for Instagram that you can play with and create different different looks. But I wouldn't just use one platform like Instagram, because you have to understand today your customer is really, really savvy. It's not just the visual stimulation they want. They understand information. They understand the ingredients that go into the products. They understand what ingredients they don't want in that product. So you can't just rely on one single platform like Instagram. You have to feed them the information they want as well.
So one can't be actually relying, but because whenever we meet people, especially salons and all, they keep telling us, even artists, they say I'm on Instagram, and to some extent Facebook also now not that much. So why is it, I mean, this craze for Instagram that it is overshot?
Well,
Is it because of the visual thing and the very, but then there's, is it because of the visual part of
Well,
it?
it's the visual part of it. I think it's very, very convenient to use. I think it probably transcends all age groups as well. I think, even people over 50 are using Instagram. Your teenagers are using Instagram. So I think it goes across a very wide age gap as well. So I think if you're going to use one platform, I think that's probably the easiest platform to use.
Harsh, now there's a lot of, everybody wants to either inspire or be inspired.
Okay.
Because that's all I see. Any message inspiring, I'm inspired, or I'm inspiring, or something like that. So, if you look at all these social and sustainability issues, how much do you think a brand should get involved? To what level should it get involved? Because we are talking about the digital times when I can't pull out. It's not that easy to pull out.
So I think a brand really needs to deep dive into this and see it, especially when it comes to packaging. A lot of recycled packaging is now available. For example, you would be seeing stick deodorants coming out in it. A lot of tubes which are being used are also by 30% recycled plastics now in it. And I think sustainability is something which it's our focus as a company. Wow, it's our focus for the next 3 years to build sustainable packaging of our products, and we are doing a lot of R&D around it right now. It's important for the environment, and it's again the same information which you have to tell your consumers, right? That it's good for them, it's good for the environment also. All these can only be translated by showing literature and showing pictures when it comes to e-commerce, right? And then obviously if there are brands, big brands which are present offline, they can still do it over there.
So like, take a social issue like a Me Too.
Yeah.
Should a brand really get involved with this? Because we see brands getting involved may just hit you back on the face. You
So
know,
when you say social issues, I don't think it depends. I think it depends from brand to brand. I really think it's an opinion of their own perspective whether they should get involved in it or they shouldn't. But yeah, a lot of brands also use it as a big marketing strategy to push their sales up or to push products up or to put graphical views up. That's what at least I've seen.
well, Kadamini, what's your view on it?
Well, you know, the thing is, like I said, your consumer is really savvy now. I think if a brand is backing a social issue, then I think it's justified in them bringing awareness to it. But if it's for this, if it's just like flavor of the week social issue and a brand needs to project themselves, I don't think it's justified in using that a social issue if they aren't backing it somehow or the other, financially, through awareness, through some kind of support.
Okay, now, Shamli, now you know we are basically formulators. Okay, now if you look at formulating, how much will the social media help us?
So again, like, because the exposure is so much of social media, brands definitely nowadays, and also the consumer, the viewers, we can't take them so lightly. They are so exposed. Even like a teenager, today, if you talk to a teenager about makeup, probably she would know better than most of the professionals because they go through so many, channels like YouTube or, so uh, it's always good for the brand to go back, before they are coming up with a product and ask reviews and views uh, of the viewers and consumers. They can come up with some great ideas from there because, people today like to experiment. They are not like just, okay, that earlier days, there was only one particular cream to moisturize. Now they can vary. Okay, it's for dry skin, it's for hydrated skin, it was for this. I mean, so today's consumer is also aware. So it's always good for the brand to go back and see how they, research on the kind of views the people are coming up with, what kind of product, what do they like to experiment with, what feel they are liking, what products they are liking, and then accordingly come up and sum up to come up with a new product or formulate product which would make the consumer happy. Today's consumer is they're very conscious about the environment also. They wouldn't want to use anything like in my salon. If I'm doing even a hair service or something, first thing person comes and asks me is how much chemical does it have? Is it plant based, or is it chemical based, or is it organic? So I mean, if my consumer is so aware, I have to focus, so, and it's all over the social media, environmental issues and everything. So you have to look at that before. I think it's in a way helping the brands to, earlier brands would just come up with something they like, or they have kind of visualized it. Today they have experts for free. They can just, it's out there. Everybody has a say. Everybody is talking about certain products. They are giving the reviews. So why not use it?
Yeah, so actually your social media is actually becoming a collaborator.
Absolutely, and for free. So like why not? So you have your customer data all out there. So why not use it also?
How does Kaushik? How does this personalization and and differentiation? They are winning trends now. Everybody wants to be different. They want it for me. How does digital tech actually, other than social media, help your customer?
Okay. Let me answer
Your
this, yeah.
customer meaning your salons. What I meant was.
Let me answer this way. You go to a salon, the moment they see you, Sheila comes here, the moment they see you, they know what you like, they know what you don't like. Okay. Once, sometimes back you would have told like, look, I want coffee without sugar. Even after 10 years, if they, every time you go to the salon, they come to you without sugar. There's a wow feeling there. That's personalization. Look, this particular salon recognizes me. What I as a customer do is I don't go anywhere. One point. Next, we also can track your usage in the salon, like what all services you have been taking, what all products you have been taking. That's an opportunity for the salon. Every time you walk in, there's a pop-up which comes to you which says like, Sheila has come in and sometimes back she had also bought a product, which means I also have an opportunity to sell a product for you. This is what we are looking at now. Go further. For a salon, how am I going to increase the business? Okay. How am I going to increase the business is like, what usually people do is like just send a mass emailers, just send a mass SMS. A person who is spending 50 rupees in an outlet and a person who is spending 500 rupees in an outlet or 50,000 rupees in an outlet, everybody is getting the same message. Am I not killing my business doing this? When you are sending an offer, I am killing my own business here. A person who is ready to spend 50,000 rupees in my outlet, he is not bothered about the discount. But yes, a person who is only spending 50 rupees in my outlet, I should make him spend 100 rupees. A person who is spending 50,000 rupees, I should make him spend 75,000 rupees. That can be achieved only when I have right systems there, when I do very focused and very targeted marketing approach. This is what the difference which a proper software or a system brings into the system. Okay. We track my repeat visits. Out of 100 customers who have visited me in last month, how many of them have come back to me? Okay. Every month a person has to go to a salon for one or the other reason, one or the other service. How many have come back to me? How many I have retained? How many I have not retained? Let me go to next level. I as a customer, I am ready to give you one more chance as a salon. I'll come back to you. Okay. But the person who has attended me last time, in my last visit, either a therapist or a stylist, I don't want to work with him, give me somebody else. Which means my retention of the salon is good, but the retention of that particular employee is not good. I can go further to one more extent. Last time I have taken hair straightening here. I'll come back to your salon, I will go to that particular stylist, but I will not go with that particular service which I have taken in your salon. So I can track what is my retention in the salon, what is my retention with respect to my employee, what is my retention with respect to that particular service. This helps me to look into like, where I am going wrong or where I am going right. Let me go to a next one more step. Every time you ask for feedbacks, the moment a stylist comes to you and asks for a feedback, looking at his face, I don't give a proper feedback there. What feedback will you give me if I ask you for the feedback right away here? Obviously, you will talk good about me. But actual feedback you will get when there is nobody in front of you. So there are systems, like in these systems you can capture multiple different kinds of feedbacks. And just not taking feedbacks, but also what actions you have taken on those feedbacks, whether right actions or wrong actions. To that extent, we can actually track with proper systems. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, very clear. And do you think, Harsh, that there can be companies that will only sell online and not go omni-channel? It's possible? Or?
Yeah, so again, it depends from what the company is coming from, right? A startup, which we've seen, and in what we did also, we prefer to go online first. Offline can be very overwhelming. It takes time. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of money also which you have to put in initially, right? You go to major modern trade outlets, you go to small A+ stores, everyone will ask for listing fee, real estate over there in offline stores. And it gets very overwhelming for a new startup or a brand. You can get this data by just starting with a smaller investment online, right? Seeing which pin codes your orders are going to. Then you can go a level deeper on focusing on offline strategy. Both of them are there to coexist. But yeah, a lot of startups will first go online, sell online, learn, and then go offline. And I think, yeah, both can coexist really well.
So you think it will be it shouldn't be any problem that way?
I don't see it. I don't see it to be a problem as such right now. But the data is generally shifting more of only startups going online first and then going to the offline. So that's the lag which you will see in terms of what I said earlier, innovations coming later in the offline space but faster in the online space.
Okay, I think we've had good lot of information and learnt a lot. Any questions for the panelists? Zara ye.
Hi, this one's for Harsh.
Yeah.
What percent of your sales are online and what percent is offline? And then digging deeper, what percent of online sales are from marketplaces versus social media versus your own website?
So like for us as a brand, for us, close to 93, 94% of the sales is only online, where it's massively more Amazon driven, and then obviously Nykaa, and then followed by, because there's a lot of loyalty which goes into Nykaa. Amazon gives a lot of convenience when it comes to shipping and delivery. So that's how it's differentiated for us. We really don't focus too much on our own website, only for customer retention is where we focus on our own website right now. So
Thanks.
Anybody else? Chalo, thank you so much.
thank you.
And you have anything to say?
Thank
Oh,
you
thank
so
you so
much.
much. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
People have been till 9:30 listening. They have. It can be little overwhelming, na? Whole day. Chalo. Thanks, Ka. What's that? That's for me.